There are three main questions about change as it relates to mental health and psychology. And if the answer is no to any of these three, there could be a rough road ahead, or more likely to continue the analogy of the road, one could become stuck in a rut. These questions are: 1. Will you do the work it takes to create the behavioral and psychological changes you desire? 2. Do you accept and will you deal with the fact that some people in your life will not like the changes you manifest? 3. Do you understand that change means you will have to give up something in order to have your desired change? In other words, saying yes to one thing means saying no to something else. There was a course titled The Dynamics of Change when I was getting my master's degree in clinical psychology. At the time, I thought it was kind of an odd title. After I thought about it for a while, I realized change is pretty much what we are all about. If someone seeks out a mental health professional, the implication is that something is not working for them, and they need to change in order for that particular something to work. And along with the discussion of this dynamic, we also learned that ethically, if someone remains stuck after a certain amount of sessions, answer from my wise mentors was usually something like, maybe they just need a different approach, or perhaps the client/therapist relationship was just not a good fit. In later years, when I worked in an agency, I saw the results of this ethical requirement over and over. I saw there were what I would call lost souls, being shunted from clinician to clinician, agency to agency, and thus came a musical chairs syndrome. And through all of this, there was the light bulb joke that made the rounds almost as frequently as referrals of clients. Question: how many therapists does it take to change a light bulb? Answer: just one, but it takes a long time, and the light bulb has to want to change. And if one wanted to take this a step further into reality, the answer would actually be none, because ultimately the light bulb has to change itself. So where does all of this leave us? We, you and I, and no one else have to do the time if we want to effect change in our behavior and our reactions to things in the world. I recently built a compost box for our backyard. I found what I consider a very good deal for downloading lots of plans for building lots of things out of wood. It cost me almost what a session with a therapist at my level would cost. I got all these plans, which came in the form of virtual paper, and that was it, gone, and a few megabytes of space taken up on my computer. So how did plans turn into a functioning compost box in my backyard? With plans and tools, acquired scrounged lumber, and a fair amount of labor and interpreting. Notice that the plans were just one of the elements that led to the eventual product. So we could say that a session with a therapist could embody two of those elements, plans and tools. There is still acquiring the material. In this case, we could say old behavior patterns are the materials, and then there is interpretation and labor, which is pretty much the same in both cases. We take what we have, plans, tools, and raw materials, and then we do the work of transformation. Downloading the plans was probably the easiest part of this series of tasks. There are clients who think that acquiring the plans and tools part is all they need to have a finished product. And as such, the therapist is not doing his or her job, because after acquiring these elements they do not feel different, or somehow their life has still not worked out. The battle still has to be waged, and the walk still has to be walked. Now where the analogy of the plans, tools, materials, and labor can break down is, I did not have a lot of resistance to the process of building the box, or the resultant better way to compost than having a pile of stuff in the backyard. When it comes to changing our behavior, there could be a voice that says, but I kind of like that big pile of organic garbage in the backyard. And if I make a compositor, then there will be fewer excuses to not take the time to turn it over once in a while, and also that means I may have to use it, so I need to start that garden plot. And so this change may not be as rosy as we first thought. When I am first contacted by a potential client by phone, email, etc., I realize there is approximately a 3-to-1 ratio of potential clients to clients who actually are seated in my office, or in the case of phone sessions, who begin and end the first session. Essentially, there are 4 clients who think change is a good idea, but when it comes down to it, only one will actually begin the journey. When I have a new client in the room, I do not ask the above 3 questions because, by their presence, they have already started their commitment to change. At some point soon, however, the 3 questions need to be answered in order for the hard work of change to become meaningful.